What happens when love crosses every limit of society? When two mothers bound by friendship find their hearts beating for each other's sons? A love so forbidden yet so irresistible that it shakes families, friendships, and destiny itself. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear is not just a story. It's a storm of passion, sacrifice, and the kind of romance no one dares to speak of. On the golden coastline of a small beach town, two lifelong friends, Grace and Lily, were living side by side. Both were mothers, widowed in their early 40s, and had raised their children together like family. Their sons David and Ethan had practically grown up as brothers, playing by the ocean, studying in the same schools, and sharing countless memories. Grace was the kind of woman whose eyes still carried the spark of her youth, though hidden under years of silent sacrifices. Lily, on the other hand, was more reserved, carrying herself with a quiet grace that came from deep pain. Together, they had supported each other through the toughest times of life, never once imagining how destiny was about to test their friendship. One summer evening, when the waves shimmered under the golden sunset, David and Ethan returned home after college. Both young men were now in their 20s, full of charm, confidence, and an energy that felt impossible to ignore. That evening, something shifted in the air, something both mothers felt but refused to acknowledge. David, tall and bold, often found himself drawn into long conversations with Lily. She admired his fiery spirit, his laughter that reminded her of youth long lost. Ethan, gentle and deep, was captivated by Grace, whose strength and compassion had always been magnetic. What began as casual admiration slowly turned into something far more dangerous, an unspoken attraction. At first, they ignored it. They told themselves it was nothing more than affection, perhaps gratitude. But nights grew longer, conversations more intimate, and stolen glances harder to hide. The sound of the ocean became their secret witness, echoing their hidden desires. The guilt was heavy. How could two mothers, best friends for decades, fall for each other's sons? It was forbidden, a betrayal waiting to explode. And yet the heart does not understand boundaries. The more they tried to distance themselves, the deeper they fell into the trap of love. David would often visit Lily, under the pretense of helping with small chores, fixing things around her house. But his real reason was simple. He could not resist the way she smiled when she looked at him. Ethan, meanwhile, found excuses to walk with Grace along the beach at night, where words turned into confessions, and confessions turned into whispered promises. The suspense was unbearable. Each meeting carried the risk of being discovered. Each glance across the dinner table felt like a secret-coded message. The tension between them was electric, impossible to hide forever. Both mothers knew their friendship could shatter in an instant if the truth came out. One stormy night, everything changed. The heavy rain forced David to stay at Lily's house. That night, as thunder roared outside, emotions overcame them. A moment of weakness became a turning point, and their bond crossed the line. What had once been fantasy became reality. Meanwhile, Grace and Ethan found themselves trapped by the same storm, walking back from the beach. Soaked and trembling, Ethan held her close. His touch was gentle, filled with sincerity, and in that moment, Grace realized she could no longer deny what her heart wanted. She surrendered to feelings she never thought possible. The next morning, both mothers woke with guilt, but also with a strange sense of liberation. They had broken the rules of society, but in their hearts, it felt like they had discovered something real. Love was no longer an abstract dream. It was alive, breathing, and dangerous. But secrets never stay hidden for long. One afternoon, David and Ethan crossed paths at the beach. A casual conversation turned into a shocking discovery. They both realized they were in love with each other's mothers. For a moment, silence consumed them. Anger, confusion, and betrayal all clashed in their minds. The boys argued, accusing each other of stealing what was sacred. Their friendship trembled on the edge of destruction. The ocean that had once united them now became a battlefield of emotions. Yet deep inside, they knew it wasn't theft, it was destiny pulling them in unexpected directions. When Grace and Lily found out that the truth had been uncovered, they were devastated. Their friendship, the strongest bond they had, was now shattered by forbidden love. Tears were shed, voices raised, and for the first time both women questioned whether love was worth the price of losing everything else. But love, once awakened, cannot be buried. Despite the anger, despite the guilt, each of them felt incomplete without the other. Nights turned into restless dreams, and days into silent longing. Even when they tried to stay apart, fate pushed them back together. Ethan, heartbroken but determined, confessed to Grace that he was willing to risk everything, even his friendship with David, just to be with her. David, equally defiant, told Lily that she was the only woman who ever truly understood him. Both young men had made their choice, no matter the consequences. Society judged them harshly. Neighbors whispered, friends distanced themselves, and the world painted them as sinners. But the four of them, 2 mothers and 2 sons, stood against the tide. They weren't criminals. They weren't betrayers. They were simply human beings who had fallen in love where they shouldn't have. Time softened the anger. Slowly, David and Ethan began to understand that love cannot be controlled or dictated by age, rules, or fear. Though their friendship was scarred, deep inside, the bond of brotherhood remained. And with time, they found a way to forgive, not just each other, but also themselves. Grace and Lily, once inseparable as friends, now stood together as lovers in spirit, even if the world refused to accept them. Their love stories with David and Ethan were not perfect, but they were real, carved in pain, guilt, passion, and truth. And sometimes, truth is the bravest form of love. In the end, the waves of the ocean remained the same, rising, falling, carrying secrets no one else would ever know. 4 lives had been changed forever, tied together by an unthinkable story of forbidden love. A story that whispered to anyone who dared to listen, love has no rules, no boundaries, no fear. Love doesn't follow rules, it just happens, even when the world calls it forbidden. This was the story of 2 mothers and 2 sons, bound by destiny, torn by society, yet united by the heart. If this story touched you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because many more untold love stories, filled with passion and suspense, are waiting for you here.